I'm curious how poor you had to be, self-employed as a single mother.
When my mom was asked what she does for a living by her fiancé Ken's father, my mom replied, "I'm self-employed." When she responded, Smith's family began to laugh as if they couldn't stop themselves. Andy, Ken's younger brother, looked at me with utter contempt. "That is not how I want to live. I can't imagine a life like that for those of us in the medical profession." Ken's mother is frowning. "I don't care what they think of me. You can't even make fun of my mother, who raised me by herself. I'm not going to forgive them. I'm not going to become a family with these people." Just as I was about to raise my voice, my mother, who is usually calm, stood up and said, "I see. I will withdraw his recommendation for medical school." Her tone was cold. "I'm Jane Brown. This year marks my 26th birthday. I am currently working as a Japanese teacher at a public high school after graduating from the Faculty of Education, and I am living a fulfilling life. After work today, I have a plan to have dinner with my boyfriend, Ken Smith."
Hello, Jane. You must be tired today.
"No, you must be tired as well." Ken, my age, graduated from medical school and is now a resident physician. We met in a university club 5 years ago and have been dating ever since. Ken is a sweetheart who is too good for me. He is very kind and faithful. We have helped each other through the difficult times of national exam and job interviews. As the meal was coming to an end and I was thinking about how nice the restaurant was today, Ken said solemnly,
My training period is coming to an end. Will you marry me if I become a full-fledged doctor?
Ken proposed me and gave me a ring. "Ken, I'm overjoyed. I'm confident that you and I will make a happy family. We'll be an excellent couple." I tried hard not to cry and accepted the proposal with joy. I hoped it would put my mother at ease. I was thinking something like that in my mind. Michelle, my mother, had raised me by herself after my father died when I was young. She has always been warm and kind, and she is the ideal mother for me. My mother gave her heartfelt blessing when Ken and I went to tell her about our marriage. "Well, congratulations, Jane. I'm overjoyed that you are marrying such a lovely man. Mom, thank you for bringing me up until now. I will return the favor from now on," Ken said to my mother, who was happy and crying.
Please don't be concerned, Mother. I will make her happy.
I was delighted to see him and said to her, "I also need to meet Ken's parents."
Thank you very much. I went to a boarding school and lived alone in college, so I only see my family every now and then. However, I'm sure they'll be delighted to see you.
Make sure to greet your family as well. You will be their relative from now on. Ken comes from a family of doctors. His father owns a private clinic. His mother is a housewife, and he has an 8-year-old younger brother. I hope Ken's family likes me.
It will be fine. I'll reserve a table at restaurant for the meeting.
Yes, I'm excited to see your family. I was confident that our future will be filled with joy. Yes, until that day. Then, 3 months later, on our meeting day, Ken's family, Smith family, arrived a little later as Ken, my mother, and I waited in the room at the restaurant we had reserved. I'm Jane Brown. This is my mother, Michelle.
This is my dad, Tom, and my family owns and operates the Smith Clinic. And this is Kelly, my mother. Andy, my younger brother, is now a junior in high school.
Ken's father and mother were well dressed for a family of doctors. Andy, the younger brother, was dressed casually in his high school uniform with brown hair and chewing gum. Ken said, after each of them had introduced themselves,
I'm thinking about marrying Jane.
Ken's father stroked his mustache and commented,
Well, let's start to ask about Jane and her family.
I suppose so. We should get to know each other if we are going to be relatives.
Ken's mother looked at me as if she judged me. Your father is not here today, is he?
I replied, No, I don't have a father. I was raised by Mom.
Wow, seriously, there really is such a thing, a single mother family.
He said this with disgust blatantly in his voice and a wrinkle at the base of his brow with a cross-legged, arrogant attitude. I was upset and replied, What do you mean by that? My mother raised me all by herself, and I am grateful to her.
Yes, Andy, you should be careful.
Then Andy turned away with an exaggeratedly unhappy look on his face. Kelly asks, Well, Jane, are you a high school teacher, as I heard? Yes, I teach Japanese at a public high school. Hearing this, Smith family members began to talk.
A teacher, We don't have a teacher in our family, and a liberal arts major doesn't suit for Ken.
You mean you're just a civil servant? You should have been a doctor like him. Being teacher at a public high school sounds poor. I have a recommendation for medical school at a private school, so I don't care. I was stunned, and Ken raised his voice.
Jane is a wonderful person, and she works hard with ambition. Don't talk to my fiancé that way.
Then Ken's father stared at my mother.
I don't forgive you for marriage, a single mother and a teacher. And what kind of work does she do? She seems to try to wear nice clothes.
Ken's father asked. My mother answered in a soft voice, Yes, I am self-employed. The members of Smith family looked at each other and started laughing as if they could no longer contain themselves.
Your family must have been very poor to be self-employed with a single mother family.
Ken's father looked as if he were making fun of us. Hey, seriously, are you running some kind of rundown store? Ken, are you just going to take care of a poor hag and a plain woman who are after your money? Andy looked at us with a look of complete disdain. I don't want to live at the bottom like that. I can't imagine such a life for us from a family of doctors. Ken's mother looked down at us with a lurking brow. I can't believe that she would make fun of me and my mother, who raised me so well by only herself. It is unforgivable. I can't be a part of their family with people like this. Just as I was about to raise my voice, my mother, who is usually calm, stood up and said, I understand what you are saying. I will cancel Andy's recommendation for medical school. Her tone was so cold. After a moment of silence, the members of Smith family looked at each other again, this time bursting into laughter.
What kind of authority do you have?
How can a self-employed and single mom cancel a recommendation for medical school? Oh my God, have you lost your mind? My mother and I watched it in silence with serious faces. Ken held his eyes and looked pained.
What? What did you say?
Tom stopped laughing when he looked at Ken and said,
As I introduced to you earlier, mother-in-law's name is Michelle Brown. Does this name sound familiar to you?
Ken's father spat.
What? I don't know the name of a woman who runs a dreary business with a single mother.
Ken's mother looked puzzled. Brown? Andy's high school is called Brown High.
What?
Andy looked at his mother's face with a sullen expression on his face, and his face became paler and paler.
Hey, you're kidding.
The chairman? It's the same person who greeted at the entrance ceremony. Huh? Ken's father and mother shouted together.
My mother-in-law is the president and manager of the private high school you go.
Ken said this in a voice that sounded like he had given up. Yes, after my father's death,
My mother ran one of the best private preparatory schools where the sons and daughters of wealthy families attended. And I was working as a teacher in order to get to know the field with the assumption that one day I would take over the school. Why didn't you tell me something important like that?
Yes, if we had known that, we would have, Ken's father and mother said shudderingly. Andy was completely shocked and looked pale. Before we could elaborate, you cursed us for being poor mother and daughter. You insulted my precious daughter like that. What else do you have to say? My mother replied quietly.
You made fun of them, but if you sent Andy to Brown High, you know what I'm talking about. Brown High is a celebrity school, and her mother has never been in need of money. Jane, who was educated as the heir to Brown High, is much better than me,
Ken also said. Ken's father and mother started to get angry again.
What? Are you making fun of us just because you're the owner of a school?
What's the big deal? You're going to revoke my son's recommendation? That's unacceptable. In the case of a recommendation for admission to the medical school, a witness from the chairman of the board is required. He came up as a candidate by the homeroom teacher, but fortunately, I have not approved it yet. It seemed his grades were not good enough for it. My mother says calmly. Then Andy, who had been in a state of stunned, suddenly got down on his knees. I'm begging you, I haven't been studying since I got the recommendation. I want to get into med school. Please, chairman. Ken's mother said in a panic. That's not good. Andy has to take over the Smith Clinic with Ken.
Yes, I even gave you bribe, and you can't be joking about cancel the recommendation.
Ken's father makes slips of the tongue. Bribe?
Ken and I were simply astonished while my mother frowned. Oh, that wasn't.
Tom was clearly dismayed. Kelly and Andy turned pale. My mother said with harsh, There are other students with good grades who want to go to medical school, so why did she recommend Andy? I was wondering, is that what you meant? You were giving money to his homeroom teacher, weren't you?
No, it's a misunderstanding.
We will strictly investigate that matter as well. Of course, everyone involved will be punished. Damn it! Remember that, old hag? Andy's face turned red and he got angry. Don't talk rudely to my mother anymore. She can expel you for bribe. When I said this, Andy glared at me and breathed on his shoulder. Then, as if taking advantage of the situation, Ken's father and mother started to say,
Are you really going to cancel Andy's recommendation? If so, I won't allow you to marry him.
That's right. What are you talking about? You are dating with our son of the heir to the clinic. I won't allow you to marry to this family either. Hey, brother, tell them not to cancel my recommendation. It was Ken who called out to the three hysterically screaming people.
I don't want your permission to marry, and I'm breaking off relations with any of you. What?
Ken's family looked at him with dazed eyes.
I have always thought that you have a tendency to brag your family of doctors. What did you say to my fiancé and mother-in-law at that important meeting for marriage? How did you behave? Do you understand? What the hell are you talking about?
Ken, you stand on their side. Ken's family members were shocked. Ken continued calmly.
I was deeply ashamed when I saw your attitude toward Jane and her mother today. Giving bribe was an insult to the other students who are studying hard to get into medical school. I despise you as a doctor and as a family. I no longer consider you as my family. I will marry Jane and be happy, so please stay out of my life.
Ken's father and mother panicked.
What the hell? Are you saying you want to take over the Smith Clinic?
If Andy doesn't get into medical school, there will be no hair,
Ken answered without hesitation. That's right. I will not take over my family's clinic. The university had just asked me if I wanted to stay on at the university as a surgeon. I was thinking that I would rather work as a surgeon in the medical department than in the internal medicine clinic. I could let Andy take over the Smith Clinic if he can get into medical school first, though, right? What? Hey, think again.
That's right. Ken, I need you to take over.
Brother, I'll have nowhere to work. Say you'll take over. Ken turned to us, ignoring the family's verbalizing. Jane and Michelle, I am truly sorry for what my family has done. I'm cutting myself off from my family, so please let me marry you.
Ken, don't worry about it. I did not fall in love with you because you are a doctor. I like your personality, and I thought we would be able to support each other in the future. My mother smiled and said to me, Yes, Ken, you are right. I know that you are a kind and honorable young man. It's amazing that you will be a surgeon. I support both of you for your dreams and happiness.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I take Ken's hand and he bows repeatedly. Ken's family looked at us in shock.
Jane and Michelle, let's go now. You don't have to stay here any longer.
Yes, you're right. Let's go, Mother. I'll leave you. We will be in touch about the cancellation of the recommendation and the bribe. With these final words, the sliding doors of the restaurant closed. 1 year later, Ken and I were married and living happily together. Ken ended up staying in the medical department, and although he is a newcomer, he is busy working every day as a skilled surgeon. I am happy to know that Ken is now able to do the work he originally wanted to do and that he is thriving. As for what happened to Smith family, first of all, it was confirmed that the bribe was true. The homeroom teacher who was trying to get Andy recommended for admission to a medical school was punished severely. Andy's recommendation was canceled because of his poor conduct and insufficient grades. After that, he tried to enter medical school as a regular student, but of course, he failed to pass the entrance exam. So he is now studying hard for the medical school entrance exam after graduated from high school.
Andy should know a little bit about hardship and how other people feel.
Ken shrugged his shoulders. The Smith Clinic has been losing patients due to the arrogant attitude of Ken's father, who is actually the director of the clinic. Moreover, Ken's mother was disliked by the nurses and medical clerks because of her bossy attitude. And most of them quit the clinic after rumors started circulating about their bribe. The couple became a target of ridicule from their relatives and the medical profession. And it was finally decided that the clinic would be closing next month. As for me, my mother said, I want you to take over the school within 10 years. So I am in the middle of studying about how to manage a school corporation. My days are busy, but with the support of my loving mother and husband, my life is going smoothly.